Hello there. How are you? Breakfast all day. Christy, Alonso, and Matt. Coming up next for you is Brightburn. It's kind of a horror movie. It's kind of a superhero origin story. Matt will tell you about all of it.
All right. So real quick, I've heard people, and I know in the comments people will point out that I've complained about my son. Here's the thing. If you have a teenager, teenagers are dicks, right? I'm telling you, teenagers are the worst.
9-year-olds can be dicks, too.
And one of the things that doesn't get carried, wait till he turns to a teenager. Oh, my God.
Okay.
Anyway, one of the things that doesn't get covered all that often in the Superman story is what happens if a moody teenager suddenly develops his powers and never gets past being moody and awful. That's Brightburn. What if your teenager, your 13-year-old, gets superpowers and decides he's just going to stay being a hater? That's pretty much what happens here. And it's treated like a horror movie, and I actually thought it kind of worked.
I like it as an idea. And I like the idea of Elizabeth Banks as Scream Queen. She is the mom. She is the mom here. So Elizabeth Banks and David Denman are a couple living on a farm in Kansas, and they've tried for a long time. Brightburn, Kansas. This is appropriate. And they've tried for a long time to have a baby. They've had difficulty with that. And then one night, magically, this thing arrives in their backyard from outer space, and it's like a pod. And it's got a baby in it. And they're like, oh my God, it's a baby. We've been looking for a baby, and here's one.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely the Superman story.
Sense.
Absolutely, right? It's like the Kents couldn't have a baby arrives in a meteor, they take him in. The only difference here is that he doesn't really, you don't get superpowers until he's like 12 or 13.
Like a bar mitzvah.
Yeah, exactly.
Today you are a Superman.
So his first name starts with a B. I can't remember the character's name in this.
Brandon Breyer. He's two B's.
Just like Clark Kent, right? Like you've got that alliterative name.
Oh, that hadn't occurred to me.
So the difference is that the spaceship capsule starts talking to him, right? And it's not all that different than the way in the Richard Donner Superman.
To the floating Marlon Brando head?
Well, but like the Richard Donner Superman, like he gets called out to the barn to find that crystal, right, from Krypton. This basically does the same thing, but it's different in that it's evil, and it's like basically telling him like, take the world,
destroy the world,
be evil.
I don't feel like there's a whole lot of complexity to this kid beyond the fact that he is just like a pawn for the evil vibes from space. Like it's an interesting concept. What if Superman were evil? And I wish they had developed that with a character that there were more complexity to, that there are more facets to, beyond either he's nice and he's the sweet kid that they think he is, and then he's the opposite extreme and he is wreaking havoc in this small town, and there's nothing really in between. I wasn't ever like terrified of him. Having said that, there are some really startling and gnarly things that happen to people in this movie. It is very gory.
No, this feels a throwback to James Gunn, who produced this. It feels a throwback to his earlier work. That's
like Super?
Like Super,
Super.
Okay, I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Why is that?
I hated Super
Did you really?
so much.
Why?
Oh, we did it on What the Flick.
Did we?
You can go find it.
This is Rainn Wilson as a superhero, kind of.
Yeah, but it's also like, did he do the specials? No, that wasn't him.
He might have been in the special?
Maybe. Anyway, but
David
like
Yarovesky.
Slither.
So David Yarovesky directed this, and he had worked on Guardians.
Yeah, this is look, this is an ugly little movie, a nasty piece of work, but it kind of worked for me. It's mercifully short. It's only it's like less than 90 minutes.
It's an hour and a half.
One of the things, I mean, it really takes the idea, like look, like kids at that age have.
He was in the specials.
Okay. At 13, 14, you're at this age where things are happening and you're having emotions and you're just developing the awareness to understand, but you still don't know how to process them and you still don't know how to deal with them. And it's, look, like everybody will tell you, middle school is a tough age. Like it's really, really tough because you're not a kid anymore. You're smarter than kids are and you're more intellectually aware, but again, like your emotion, like it's a mess, right? And so if you throw superpowers plus this thing that's basically possessing you and telling you to be assertive and take over the world, like of course this kid's a mess, right? I didn't have a problem with that. And it comes in like, hey, this is going to be a horror movie, and I think it works. I mean, it's again, it's ugly. Like, this is an ugly movie, but it's not trying to be nice. And it kind of worked for me. I don't think it's genius. It's obviously shot on a budget. They work around that pretty well, and the idea of like, somebody using those powers for evil, that would be terrifying, right? I mean, it's you don't realize that, you don't think about it that much, but like Superman can hide around and can be really terrifying, right? And sure, it gets like comic book people will say, oh yeah, there's been a million stories like that, totally. But we haven't really seen this on film in this way, and it's okay. It's not genius. I'm not saying that this movie is awesome, but for what it presents itself to be, I think it serves its purpose, and it kind of does what it sets out to do.
It's a solid thriller, and it will make you squirm. It will make you uncomfortable.
It's a great little B movie.
Yes, it was written by, so James Gunn produced it, as you mentioned. James Gunn came out and introduced my screening that I went to on a Friday afternoon. He written by Brian Gunn, who is his brother, and Mark Gunn, who is his cousin.
Interesting.
There you go. And then the director is somebody he had worked with on The
brought out
Guardians.
all the big guns.
Sorry.
You haven't even seen it.
That was a Matt joke.
That was a Matt joke. It is okay. It is okay. It's not great.
It's a serviceable B movie.
I wish there had been more to the character, and I wish there had been more to his mission, his diabolical mission, beyond just like take over the world. That seems a little overly simplistic. I wish there had been more to it than that.
I actually kind of appreciated that it was simple.
Okay.
I think because again, like I think you could have gone too far and do too much world building and get too distracted. And the reality is like, again, like this as a parent, this kind of hit me in a parental way where I'm like, oh, that, as I came home that night after that screening and my wife's like, so what's this about? And I said, imagine Gabe on his worst day, but then he's got superpowers. And she was like, oh no. I was like, yeah, that's the movie, right? And it kind of works. Okay. Look, if this is the kind of thing that if you're hoping for something like that's kind of gruesome and kind of a horror movie and a dark take, this will be right up your alley.
Elizabeth Banks is always good.
She's good.
She can do everything.
And I thought the kid was good. I thought the kid
Jackson A. Dunn.
Yeah, like he comes off as super creepy, and then he can he's not altogether like Moppet charming, but he can at least play an innocence there, right? Like he's at least like, oh yeah, no, I'm okay. Like he can at least seem normal, and then he can seem like really kind of distant and reserved and not like almost inhuman, so to speak.
And then the innocence is creepy by comparison as well.
Yeah.
So I'm saying 6.1.
Yeah, I don't think I'm that much higher than you. What did I say?
You said 6.
Oh yeah.
So we're like in the
6,
same basic place. All right, so our number is 6.1 is at 63% on the tomato meter.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And hey, why not check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay and look at all the cool extra content that we provide to our subscribers, like trailer reviews and TV recaps and much more.
Thanks. Bye.